There seems to be a lot of people trying to connect the dots as to who will be the next offensive coordinator for Coach Kevin Stefanski. And I got to be honest, I think a lot of people got it wrong. We're going to talk about it now. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought through the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate each and every one of you that makes Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. For the everydayers, and I appreciate you all so much, let's get more into that pool, so to speak. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It's always free, wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Obviously, the most popular story and to follow for the Cleveland Browns right now is their pursuit of a new offensive coordinator. And, a lot of times with something like this, the very popular thing is to try to connect the dots to, head coach Kevin Stefanski, guys he's worked with in the past, and make the assumption that that is going to be the next hire here for the Browns as their offense coordinator. And look, obviously, the NFL, as far as the coaching tree is concerned, is certainly definitely a kissing cousins type of thing. Everybody has almost worked with everybody at some point, somewhere, where you worked with your right hand. There is obviously, a lot of, crossover. But like some of the names I'm hearing, like Clint Kubiak, things like this. If Coach Kevin Stefanski was truly going to bring in one of his buddies to be his offense coordinator, why is it waiting till year 5 to happen? That's my biggest thought process. Why would that happen? Why wouldn't he have done it sooner? Didn't really have a relationship with Alex Van Pelt. So I think that is something that a lot of people are just, might be one of those ones where you're trying to be more right than necessarily, or trying to just, play the educated guess, as opposed to wondering why the Browns are truly doing what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. Coach Stefanski's looking for some fresh air. He's looking for a fresh voice. He's obviously looking to add something to his offense that hasn't been here before. They're going to change this offense around. Now, you're certainly going to look at an offense like the Miami Dolphins. You're certainly going to look at, maybe some guys who have worked with the Kansas City Chiefs. They want something new. They want something fresh. They want to tap into something they have not tapped into themselves in their time here in Berea. So trying to just connect the dots and think he's just going to bring, look, that would have happened. He would have brought somebody in right off the bat. He would have found a way. Offense coordinator brought in today, run game coordinator, with offense coordinator interview brought in today, I should say. Brought in from Seattle, a run game coordinator, offensive line coach. And if anybody's not totally understanding what exactly is going on there, Bill Callahan's son, Brian, obviously from the Cincinnati Bengals, is up for a lot of head coaching jobs. And yes, Bill Callahan would be under contract. And I don't even think it's got to be a promotion, guys. If Bill Callahan's son gets a head coaching job and Bill wants to go coach, I don't think anybody with the Cleveland Browns organization is going to stand in his way. There's like unwritten rules here. The guy wants to go coach with his son, or it was the other way around. The son wanted to go coach with his dad. Nobody's going to stand in the way of that. So the Browns certainly have to look for some sort of possible replacement in understanding that they could lose their offensive line coach as well. Not by their choice. Chad O'Shea will stay with the wide receivers, it seems like, for now, but they could be down, of course, their offense coordinator, their running back coach, their tight end coach, and possibly their offensive line coach. And, running game coordinator, you're going to get somebody in here. And look, it may not be the worst thing in the world if Bill goes on. Bill did great things here. The offensive line was not as good this year as it has been in years past. So you want to rejuvenate the running game. You want to add more spice, certainly, to the passing game. There's no question about that. And, you're going to do that certainly with some new personnel. And, there's a lot of talk. We did the episode yesterday and I put out a bunch of names. And I truly think the Browns would look to go big game hunting at a wide receiver this year. And not to say they, obviously Odell, no. But like that situation last year with a guy like Odell looking for 1 year, kind of a high payout. If there were a guy like that this year, that is certainly something the Browns would pursue. And I think they would be absolutely 110% in on. But, Steph needs to, and I think Coach, and this is where, and I talked about this, a couple episodes ago, this is going to be interesting for Coach Stefanski. Obviously enjoys being a play caller, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is his team. He has every right to do it. But if you're trying to bring in the next great offense coordinator who might become a head coach, or you're trying to bring in somebody who you truly think, is going to bring in, thoughts from a Dolphin offense, a Chiefs offense, but somebody who's going to bring something in and help take this offense to another level. A guy like that's going to want the opportunity to call plays. And, it'll be year 5 for Coach. And is it time now to maybe give that up? Well, if you want a solid name to become your new offensive coordinator, it may be something he seriously has to consider, because, everybody's on a path to try to grow their plan. Like, right, you guys all do that. A lot of people do that in your jobs. You talk to your managers, who's ever in charge. What's your plan? What's your 1 year plan, your 2 year plan, your 5 year plan? That exists in pro sports as far as coaching. And most everybody wants to get to the big seat, the head coaching seat. Well, in order to do that, you got to climb the rungs. And, I was offense coordinator. Oh, were you a play caller? No. Certainly something that helps you take that next step. So I don't think Coach is just out there looking for a buddy. Look, Jim Schwartz last year was a guy he didn't have much of a relationship with. And look how well that worked out. Why? Because you went outside the backs and realized that what you've been doing hasn't been working. And you need some fresh eyes and a fresh voice in the building. I think it's going to happen the same way as far as your offense coordinator search here for the Cleveland Browns. We're going to continue on here. The episode yesterday, of course, with the bold predictions seemed to do pretty well. I had a couple for the defense. We're going to talk about those. The latest Locked On Browns continues. This next segment is brought to us by our sponsor, the good folks at BetterHelp. Look, one of the things I've learned over the last couple of years, and I've talked about this a bunch, and, you go through a lot. I lost my older brother. I lost my father. 2 years later, lost my mother-in-law. It sucks losing the people you love. And not everybody always understands. And look, there may be a day where you're fine with it. There may be a week where you're fine with it. There may be a month where you're fine with it. But there may be times where you just absolutely hurt to your core and you can't think straight because people that you leaned on and they were always there for you are no longer there. So think about it. It's okay to vent. And this is where therapy becomes very, very important. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off our chest every once in a while. Venting is a great, great tool. But if you're thinking of starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. We continue here. As I mentioned yesterday, of course, we appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen. If you're not part of the everyday crowd by now, we'll make a new plan stand, and that plan should be subscribing to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show's always available. It's always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Did the show yesterday, obviously, there's going to be a lot of change to the Cleveland Browns offense this year. There's no question about it. But the changes on defense, there's going to be some, and there's certainly going to be some upgrades and some personnel changes. Not as many as I feel is the offensive side of the ball here, but we're going to talk about some of those right now. Do not be surprised if in the coming weeks, months, and we kind of went through this last year a little bit, and I am not saying I want to, I will run back this cornerback unit in a heartbeat of Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, and Martin Emerson. But there is going to come a point here where the Cleveland Browns front office is going to have a conversation about finances and the cornerback position. Greg Newsome and Martin Emerson, both of their rookie contracts are going to come to an end at the same time. Greg was a first-round pick, obviously has the ability to have a 5-year deal, and we'll know more on that come May, when a 5th-year option would have to be picked up. By whom? We'll see. Martin Emerson, obviously, will have 2 more years under contract for a rookie deal. But I don't think anybody should be surprised if maybe you start hearing that Greg Newsome is a guy the Browns could possibly be willing to move. Again, Greg Newsome, this is not me, but I do have a job to do. And the thought would be there is, look, Denzel's under contract, and Denzel's obviously got a big deal. And I'm not saying when this time comes for both of these young men to get their bags. Greg got a pretty good bag as first-round pick. Martin certainly should have a bag coming his way. The Browns love drafting corners. They have drafted a corner every year that they've been here. They usually bring in a couple of UDFAs. They are always in the cornerback market. You brought in Cam Mitchell. And to be honest, when you drafted Cam Mitchell last year and what we saw this year, he might be the truest nickel corner the Browns have on their roster. So if you could save some money on Greg Newsome, bring in some draft capital by moving it, it's a conversation to be had. Again, I'm not in any way suggesting this, but to look at it from a front office lens, you can see that possibility. Greg Newsome's number would probably be $14-15 million as a franchise tag number. I don't think the Browns are comfortable with that number. And of course, that would be for his 5th year. And Greg, obviously, this was a great season for him. And as much as the talk was last offseason, about how this was going to work out. And look, Greg, you guys just, if the guys want to talk a little bit, they're bored now. And you guys want to fight with them. Football players are bored right now if their season is over. They're bored because they're not into workouts yet. It's just chilling, trying to get your body right again, relaxing, but they're bored. They don't have the structure. They don't have film. They don't have practice. They don't have training, rehab, none of it. Basically right now, just sitting around trying to relax, reflect before they amp it up again and start preparing for the seasons. You guys are out there jabbing them and poking them on social media. It's crazy. And why do they respond back? Again, because they're bored. They're bored. So it's something that if you look at it from a front office lens, could make sense. You can save money. You have a guy, most likely they'll draft a corner again this year. They made the move, obviously, last year with Lagasse, and they brought him in. And They're always in the market for corners. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying it's conversations the Cleveland Browns certainly can have as far as the cornerback room is concerned. Because I think, Martin Emerson, look, they're both good. They really are. But Martin Emerson with his length and his size, and other than last Saturday in Houston, his physicality playing the position, I think Martin Emerson's going to be a star. I really think Martin Emerson is going to be a really, really good player. And you guys know, and the everydayers know, I tell this story. It's not last summer, the summer before. And this is when the Eagles went to the Browns for joint practices. I got a couple of, people I know within the Eagles organization. And this was when Martin Emerson at the time was just a kid out of Mississippi State, a 3rd-round pick. And you look at the way this Eagles secondary played this year, the corners, and they had a rough year. And I got a message. Man, we was talking. Y'all stole this kid, Martin Emerson. Great talent. He's got the juice, physical, a little yappiness to him. And all of a sudden, Martin Emerson went out there in year 1 as a rookie, played really, really well. Threw him on the outside here this year, and he played extremely, extremely well. If the Browns need to have the opportunity to, because then it gets into that odd, because if they were not to, then it comes right after the trade, right after the draft, and then you usually have that decision in by Monday, Tuesday after the draft, whether or not you're picking up your 5th-round option. And it's certainly a conversation to have. And, I think Greg had one of the biggest plays by far of the 2023 season. That pick 6 to the house in Baltimore saved the season, perhaps. And at the time, we didn't know exactly how the rest of it was going to turn out. Of course, we got the news a few days later about Deshaun Watson. But at that time, that play by Greg Newsome in Baltimore, that was a season-saving play. Little did we know all the things that were going to change still, and this season still went the way it was. But that was a big one that day in Baltimore. But business decisions have to be made. And unfortunately, not always easy. And unfortunately, you have to take feelings out of it. But the Browns, with having this great cornerback trio that they do, it's going to lead to some big talks as far as finances, and soon. And the Browns love to dabble in younger cornerbacks and bring in cornerbacks and develop cornerbacks. Just a little mea culpa there on the cornerback position. We're going to continue on here. You're the latest Locked On Browns. As always, appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024, like hiring an offensive coordinator? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on a team that you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire, but they need to hit on every hire that they're looking to make. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, it is quick, and it is easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The Lloyds, they love their live music. We've got venues around us, outside venues, spring, summer, fall. We can go see some of our favorite shows. Problem is availability and scheduling. So we have to be last minute ticket buyers. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy your tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You get to see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. You can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Game Time has deals on tickets right to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute deals. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Start to take her home here. Your latest Locked On Browns. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate all of you for making Locked On Browns your first listen. If you were not part of the everyday crowd by now, we'll get on the bus, Gus, and subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, obviously, we gave you my cornerback talks, and I'm assuming that'll lead to some fun here on social media. This isn't very much bold, but Alex Wright is certainly in contention to be a starting defensive end for this team next year. Ogbo Okoronkwo, you can play him as much as you want. Left side, right side, not making a ton of money. Alex Wright, not making a ton of money. Cleveland Browns. And now this can be something where they can have a little fun with this, maybe before they start to commit to Alex Wright long-term. Cleveland Browns could go out, maybe take a swing if they wanted to on a big one-year deal. Similarly, what they did this year was Darius Smith on a pass rusher. Danielle Hunter. That'd be fun, right? Marcus Davenport would be available. Here's one for you kids. A guy who could be looking for a one-year deal to cash in next year's free agency from the Ohio State University, former Washington Commander, former San Francisco 49er, Chase Young. Cleveland Browns go to Chase Young and say, let's get you right. We can get you a limited snap count. We can make you look fantastic. Jim Schwartz, look what he did for Alex Wright in year 2. What do you think a guy like Jim Schwartz could do for you, Chase Young? You want to come back to the Ohio area? 1-year deal, $8-9 million, incentive laden, so you can go cash that big one after the 2 serious knee injuries you had down in Washington. My bold prediction is that the Cleveland Browns should be hot and heavy for Chase Young this offseason. Go get another guy like that. You know already Alex Wright can do all the work and can do the dirty work. You know you have a talent in Ogbo Okoronkwo who, for a smaller D end, has great rush ability on the inside. We all know what number 95 can bring to the table. We ain't no fools about that. But what you did last year was Zadarius Smith, and certainly Zadarius was older than where Chase Young is now. But you want to have some fun, and you certainly want to amp up your fan base, because we all know the percentage of Cleveland Browns fans that have a lot of love for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They're all geeked about Ronnie Hickman, right? You want to make a splash here that appeases your fan base and kind of fits right in line in what the Browns like to do. They like to chase those former first-round picks. They like to say, hey, maybe it didn't work out because of A, B, C, D, X, Y, and Z. But I got Jim Schwartz. I can pay you because I'm not paying Ogbo much, and I'm certainly not paying Alex Wright much right now. I can pay Chase Young some good money. And let's see if we get him back to the state of Ohio and get this young man back on the path of glory and righteousness that he always should have been on. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. This is now my 7th, going into 8th seasons of coverage of the Cleveland Browns for here with Locked On Browns. I appreciate everybody who makes the show their first listen every single day. The Locked On Browns everydayers, you guys are my people. I love you. And let's get as many of these parties as we can. If your friends aren't subscribed, pick up their phones, go to their laptop, go to their iPad, subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel for them. And then they will thank you later. The show is always available. It's always free, wherever you get your podcasts. And again, we're going to get you an episode out tomorrow. We're going to have Pete Smith in here. We're going to talk a little playoff preview for the weekend, some more Browns talk. We'll have some fun with that. Make sure you get to the episodes, preceding this. Make sure you check out Locked On Sports 247. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.